Let's factor some trinomials when a equals 1. So we'll refer back to our flowchart. These are the questions that we ask ourselves. The very first question we always start with is, do I have a greatest common factor? If you do, factor it out. Then if you have a trinomial, you're going to have one of two situations. Either A, the coefficient in front of x squared is going to be 1, or it won't. In this video, we're only going to work with a equals 1 in front of the x squared. And what I do then is I say, what two numbers do I multiply to get the last, the c, and add to get that middle term? So let me look at my example. Do I have a greatest common factor between all three terms? The answer to that is no. I realize I have a trinomial, my a is 1, so I ask myself, what two numbers can I multiply together to get a negative 36, and then add those numbers together to get a negative 5. I know I'm going to have two parentheses, and it has to be x and x because that's how I multiply to get x squared. So I'm going to take my calculator, and I'm going to let it help me get my factors of 36. I go to the table. I type 36 divided by my x. I'm going to start at 1. I'm going to let it step by 1. That means it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Auto will automatically give you all of the answers. So your calculator just did 36 divided by 1, and that tells you that 1 and 36 are factors. 36 divides by 2 and gives you 18. 36 divides by 3 to give you 12. 36 divides by 4 and gives you 9. 5 gives you a decimal, so we only use whole number factors. And 6 gives you 6. So now we need to think about the signs. If you're going to multiply two numbers and get a negative, that means you need one positive and one negative. But you're going to add that positive and that negative and end up with a whole bunch of negatives. So you have to start out with a whole bunch of negatives first. So each of these sets multiplies to give me negative 36. I need to find out which set will add to give me negative 5. 1 minus 36 gives me negative 35. 2 minus 18, that's negative 16. 3 minus 12 gives me negative 9, not negative 5. 4 minus 9, that gives me negative 5. So my two factors are plus 4 and minus 9. That's all I have to do to factor that trinomial when a equals 1. So I'm going to move on to my second example. In this example, I always start by asking, do I have a greatest common factor? Well, the only thing that will divide 2 is 2. Does 28 divide by 2? Yes, it gives me 14. Does 48 divide by 2? Yes, it gives me 24. So I'm going to divide out my 2. So when I say I factor it out, what I'm really doing is I'm asking you to divide this, but usually you just do that in your head. 2x squared divided by 2, that becomes 1, and you got x squared. Negative 28x divided by 2 becomes negative 14x, and 48 divided by 2 becomes 24. You did greatest common factor, but you're not finished. Within that parentheses, you were left with 3 terms where a equals 1. So you're going to ask yourself, what two numbers multiply to give you positive 24 and also add to give you a negative 14? So I'm going to look up the list of 24. Now, I like to let my calculator do that for me so that I don't forget anything. But if I don't need to, I'll just do it in my head. So I have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, 5's a decimal, and once I get here, it's going to repeat 6, 4, 8, 3, 12, 2, 24, 1. I don't have to rewrite it. Now I'm going to multiply two numbers and get a positive. That means the signs have to be the same. They either have to both be positive or both be negative. In order for them to be the same and end up being negative, that means both numbers in each set must be negative. So I'll add to see if any of these sets add to give me negative 14. Negative 1 and negative 24 gives me negative 25, not negative 14. Negative 2 and negative 12, that does give me negative 14. So I bring down my greatest common factor. x squared is going to break into x and x. That's where you get your two parentheses. You fill in minus 2, minus 12. There's your answer. Let's do one more to make sure we've got it. Start at the top of your flowchart. The question you ask yourself is, do I have a greatest common factor between 1x squared, 21x, and negative 72? The answer to that is no. So I move on. How many terms do you have? You have 3 terms. Is a equal to 1 or is a not 1? Well, there's nothing there. That means it's 1. So you will ask yourself, what two numbers multiply to give you a negative 72 and add to give you 21. So I'm going to use my calculator to help me get those factors. I'm going to go to the table. I'm going to do 72 divided by x. Because you just programmed the calculator to do 72 divided by 1, 72 divided by 2, 72 divided by 3. It'll do all that for you. So you'll write down the whole number factors. You don't write down decimals, because decimals are not factors. So I'm going to keep going until I see those numbers repeat, and there's the repeat. Once it starts repeating, I've got all the factors. Now, you're going to multiply two numbers and get a negative. You need one positive and one negative. So one of these is positive and one is negative. But when you add these together, you end up with extra positives. That means you had to start out with bigger positives, so your little numbers are going to be negative. So x squared should break into x and x. Let me figure out which set adds to give me 21. So 72 minus 1, that's 71. 36 minus 2 is 34. 24 minus 3, that's 21. A minus 3, a plus 24, that is as factored as it's going to get.